Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, I just wanted to address all my Laker people. Hope everybody's having a good day. I don't know if I have any new content for you. I just honestly wanted to say hi. It ain't even a big deal, you know. Whatever, whatever comes out, comes out. I never script anything anyway. But without having listened to my latest rant very recently, a lot of stuff that I've talked about. This has basically been the same old stuff. Me not being happy with the rotations, me being concerned about the play style of what we saw last night, the last couple games, coupled with the fact that we're going to be seeing a Minnesota Timberwolves team that's going to be without players, just like the Suns, just like Utah. And I'm very encouraged. I'm very encouraged by the fact that Laker Nation has our fan base. They're all sounding similar to the way I sound. Maybe not as pessimistic, not as down about it, but we're all worried about Minnesota as it pertains to this being a trap game. Because of that, we've seen our team go up against all these different teams, and they ain't really, take it to them at all without their best players on the floor, or even their second best player on the floor in a lot of cases. We just dumb it all the way down to the level of the opponent, shove our worst stuff to the front of the line, and ask it to help us win. It's just what I've been talking about pretty much exclusively as it pertains to this team. So that's really just the opinion. From there, I think that I'm looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves matchup, and I still don't see too many ways for us to actually not play well against this bunch. They just are not going to be doing very well with what they're going to be lining up on the floor, because they got players like Karl Towns who are now going to have to slip back to the center position. We never ever plays well defensively at the center position. They ain't going to have a choice. They're going to have to move him to center. Jaden McDaniels out. Naz Reid out. Gobert out. So what you're talking about is running players out of position. Maybe some Taurean Prince at the 4. Like I said, Luka Garza's back there, but they never run him. I don't know why. They need to run him. He's a way better player than they're giving him his credit for at this point. But you're going to see more Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They're going to have to go small ball. Obviously, everything's going to be Anthony Edwards-centric, but it's going to be very, very difficult for him to get any dribble penetration on our bigs. Even if we do the stuff we're prone to do without Rudy out there and with Karl trying to hover around the perimeter, it's going to be tough. Karl's going to have to play like a big man. And while that's not a thing, because he's done it for the first 7 years of his career, the problem is the way the team's constructed, he's not supposed to be doing that with this roster. He's supposed to be a 4 with this roster. And since he's coming back from injury, if this is how they're going to be approaching their playoff situation, it's almost like Dallas when they looked at their situation and realized they didn't have enough to compete. That's kind of where Minnesota's at. It's like you can put all of your chips to the front, but you got to play a new style. And while if you had 7 or 8 games to get used to that style, I give you a puncher's chance, because you do got some talented players who can start playing well. Taurean Prince could take steps forward. Nickeil could take steps forward. Some of the other guys, obviously Anderson could take steps forward. But in such short notice, with so much on the line, on the road, with this being the first time you've had to deal with so much missing, you had no intentions of having Rudy Gobert be out and McDaniels, but if you have to remove one, certainly not both, certainly not at the same time. And if you do, you don't want the first game that y'all have to do that to be so pressured and have so much riding on it. So everything, and I mean everything, is pointing up against Anthony Edwards right now. And I do not envy the Minnesota Timberwolves fans. As someone who's on the other side of this thing, of course I'll take the easy win. Thank you for the blessing, Lord. We needed all the blessings. Everything's falling into place. Hopefully it leads to us being a champion at the end of this thing. So for me, I'll take the blessing. Cool. But just like I was telling you guys as I was addressing the Minnesota Timberwolves, I have an entirely different mind as it pertains to what it is I'm looking at, and I'm very disappointed. I don't hate the Timberwolves, you know what I mean? They just so happen to be our opponent. I was actually looking at this team, and if you guys follow me a little bit, maybe you might have heard me mention the Minnesota Timberwolves after they beat the Lakers maybe about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, as a team I thought could really, really shock the world as it pertains to their other guys being so capable, in my humble opinion. I started seeing good things out of the guys that I didn't really know that well. of that well, playing well on that Timberwolves team as a unit together. They're not the greatest individual players, but once you start getting Mike Conley and all those guys, there's another guy on the back of the bench who had a really bad game against the Lakers last time, but I've seen him play very well before. God, I wish his name would come to mind. Regardless of what, he's a player who also can boost to the bench as well at the shooting guard position. Mick something, it ain't McDaniels, but it's another name that's similar. I can't think of it right now. But they got guys, man. Jalen Noel, y'all know I like Jalen Noel. So it's like they got the pieces that can be feisty tomorrow. Jalen Noel, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, these are guards that I know can go crazy and help with a small ball lineup. Like I said, if you give the Minnesota Timberwolves 2 weeks to run with what it is they have right now, they're going to lose a lot of games, but they'll start getting used to playing with one another and will play well as they can, that kind of thing. But any type of situation, even if you're bringing in good talent, even if you're inserting good talent, it still shakes the lineup in such a way to where that first game is going to be tough, no matter if it's positive stuff coming in or positive stuff going out. It always makes me concerned about that first and second game of that process. So Minnesota's just in a world of trouble, man. I don't even think Anthony Edwards scoring 55 or 60 points is going to necessarily do it for them, just because of how easy it is for the Lakers to score in this situation. It should be very easy for Anthony Davis, Wenyen Gabriel, and those guys. They should be able to score rather easily. And Vanderbilt, obviously, he's been playing, solely defensive for the Lakers. They've been trying to run him with some offensive stuff, but it hasn't worked. But I think this is one of them games where you can probably see him get a few more buckets than normal, because it's his old team. And those guys want revenge. I'm going to tell you right now, being in Minnesota is not necessarily a prize to maybe myself as a fan for the Lakers. But when you look at what they were doing last year, you look what they built, I would have taken some pride in that. Getting to the playoffs, Patrick Beverley, the whole thing. That whole unit there, that should have been given more respect. I wish another team would come to mind. A team that was given up on a little too soon. I know one, but it was legitimate. The Miami Heat with Lamar Odom and not Jimmy Butler, but Caron Butler. That team was pretty good. Now, obviously, they had to trade all that to the Lakers to get Shaq. So, of course, you do that 100 times out of 100 times if you're Miami. But that's the team that comes to mind that I think if Shaq didn't want to leave the Lakers and the Miami Heat would have stayed together, that Miami Heat team may have ended up getting to the finals together. That unit, I think they had a chance to eventually, over time, if they kept Lamar and those guys together, I think with Dwayne Wade, that team was going to do something. And I look at this team the same way. I look at this Minnesota team and I zoom in and I fast forward all the way to now, and I say, they just missed an opportunity here, man. With that young group trying to get rid of all that stuff for Rudy Gobert, I just think you should have kept that group together, man. Because it was the first team that had ever been to the playoffs. You got McDaniels and Vanderbilt, two of the best young defenders in the game. That right there. For me, I wouldn't have traded those two alone. When I say Walker Kessler, Vanderbilt, and McDaniels, I could have been and Anthony Edwards. Those four players I would have been happy with. I'd have been like, okay, give me the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let me work with those four players. I'll send Towns out. I'll send everything else out. And I will build around those four players. I'd have been happy. Just give me my picks and my requisite talent, and everything else will tank, and we'll get Wembanyama, we'll get, all the different stuff that would make that team really, really good as Anthony Edwards, Vanderbilt, McDaniels, and whoever else I just mentioned grew together. That is how you do it. That's how you do it. But they decided not to do that. Somebody had the bright idea that Rudy Gobert was just going to change life for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And honestly, I don't think that person really watched basketball very much, to be honest with you. I don't know who the hell thought of that. But they said, and see, for me, it's like, I'm going to tell y'all the truth. As soon as somebody says Rudy Gobert, I'm going to be like, how much is this going to cost us? I'd have been like, nah, how about Bam Adebayo? I'd immediately come up with other names that would have did the same thing for me. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to spend all our money, Rudy Gobert going to be like the 5th or 6th name on the list of centers that I would even consider. You know what I'm saying? For what it is that they wanted. They want rim protection. They want somebody who's not going to take shots away from Karl. They want somebody who can allow Karl to go to the 4th spot so he can roam and shoot the ball the way he's supposed to. I'd have thought of 8 other people before I thought of Rudy Gobert. And it's like, especially with that price tag, bro, we could go anywhere with that. You could take just one of those picks and go get a player better than that. You could take 2 of those picks or 3 of those picks, try to see if Cleveland will give you Allen. Like, there's so many different things they could have did that would have cost them so much less than giving up 2 human beings worth. Like, way more than that, actually. I'm just talking about the worth of a human life. Like, that's how much they gave up. 2 humans worth. It's like just way more than anything they would ever imagine have to give up for Rudy Gobert. And least of all, to mortgage a team that would have been fantastic if they just would have left it alone. You think about all the picks they gave up. And then you look at Walker Kessler. You look at Vanderbilt. Now, you don't mind giving up Beasley's contract. That contract's not good for you if you're Minnesota. You know, you don't necessarily care that you sent out whatever else went out. I don't even remember what else went out on top of that. You could live with that. It was Vanderbilt, Beasley, a bunch of stuff the Lakers got now. You don't care that you kicked that stuff out of your organization if you're Minnesota. But Kessler and all those picks and Vando, oh no. No. I wouldn't have traded Rudy Gobert for Vando and Kessler by himself. I wouldn't have did that. You couldn't have get that trade off of me for just those 2 pieces, let alone all them damn picks. I'm telling you, worst trade in the history of the sport. On top of that, they mortgaged away the only team that ever made the playoffs for them, basically. Just basically. Maybe Kevin made the playoffs a couple times. I remember we saw them in the Western Conference Finals. Luke Walton shot like 5 threes and knocked them off. That's the only time they've ever done anything. And so to think that they just took all of that good stuff that they had, all those defensive pieces, all those high-energy guys that complemented Karl and Anthony so well, and they turned it into Rudy Gobert. I mean, God, that's awful. That's just awful, bro. That's the type of thing you do when you don't know anything about what you're doing. You just come in like, yo, I got a bunch of money. And then you go to the first guy who looks like he knows a little bit about the NBA. Hey, I'm going to give you all my money. What should I do? And he just says, yeah, go get Rudy Gobert. And you're like, okay, let's go do it. And he looks at you like, okay. It takes your money and walks away. Like, that's what that is to me. That's exactly what that is to me. Somebody just really, really pulled a fast one on A-Rod's. Probably somebody who did not like him. Just say, yo, screw that dude over. Straight up. Because that's exactly how I look at the situation. So now, you know, they went on to win the game that all this bad stuff happened in. And I'm looking at McDaniels and I'm saying, that kid probably would love to return somewhere else. I don't know what made him so angry as to punch a wall, but I know what is there not to like. When I look and see the team I'm on last year and how good it was doing versus looking at this team right now and looking at Rudy Gobert and how he can't even seem to get it together. You know what I mean? It's like you turned all of this. We had such a future. If I'm McDaniels, that's just me talking. If I'm him, we had such a future. My trajectory's going up. I got a running mate, Vando, coming off the bench with me. We could lock up any one player in the league together. Any one player in the league you can think of that needs to be locked up, they could probably do it together. Their double team would probably stifle that player. And they broke that up to bring in Rudy Gobert, who's a hypothetical defensive player who don't actually really play defense or offense. He don't really do either. He's good on the boards, but when you talk about defense, he's supremely deficient as it pertains to trying to guard the perimeter. So even if he's a great interior defensive player, he's a horrible perimeter threat. And this is a perimeter league. So it's like, this is so bad. So bad. And then, you know, it doesn't help that Kessler literally turns into a better player. Like, right away. Second half, it took a season for us to realize that this guy's just simply a better all-around player. Even at the things that Rudy's supposedly good at, like blocking shots and rebounding. Kessler's better. And so it's just like, you know, This is just one of those situations where you see a team implode to this degree and you can't help but feel bad for their fans. This don't end well for the fans in no way, shape, or form, because what ends up happening is after a team does a bunch of stuff like this over a course of time, they just sell the team yet again, and then that person finally says, you know what, let's just move this team out of this place. Move them to Vegas, move them to LA as if we need a third team or some crap like that. And it's like, nah, the fan base never got a chance. They never got a chance. It's already hard enough to get talent up there, but when you have your organization just going in and just throwing, doing bubblegum trades and stuff like that, and then they want you to come and support the team, and then they get mad at the fan base for not showing up. It's like, don't you see what these guys were doing? Nobody wants to pay for this stuff, man. Like, nobody wants to pay to see them do nothing when they know for a fact that they had enough if they just wouldn't have done anything. Just don't do anything. Come in, buy the team, and just watch the game. Let your professionals do your job. Don't come in saying, yo, let's shake up the world and get Rudy Gobert. Let's shake up the world. Phoenix with the same thing. Let's come in and shake up the world and bring in KD. But see, it's different for Phoenix because they're not giving up trade equity. They're giving up Bridges. They're giving up Cam. But, like, I can argue that Cam's had injury issues. It's fine. Whatever it is that they have to give up, you can get it back because KD's going to be amazing no matter what. Rudy Gobert, nah, that ain't true. Ain't true. He ain't going to be amazing no matter what. He going to be tall no matter what. But he ain't going to be amazing. Nah, nobody's ever accused him of that. So it's like, as I said a little earlier, I really believe that trade should have been vetoed. I know the sole reason why the NBA was able to veto the Laker trade was because the Hornets own the team. I do have that nugget in my head. I do not care. This should have been something special. At some point in time, you got to look at two teams and say, yo, that's not just going to affect you. That's going to affect everybody. And that shouldn't be done. It should be done. So as we look at this team once again, we say, okay, they obviously do not have enough. Could the Lakers run into them and just lay an egg? I don't even see that. I really don't. I don't see it. The Lakers have too many options. There's just too many options. And even if we get to a point where we're playing lackadaisical and all that, there's absolutely no excuse for it, given the fact that it's a win-or-go-home situation. The Lakers would have to basically implode like the Minnesota Timberwolves did against the Pelicans in order for the Lakers to lose this game, in my opinion. Like, it would have to be that type of implosion, that type of shutdown, something that makes players just completely be someone else, that type of shutdown. Yeah, that's how bad this game looks on paper. So, I'm hearing the conspiracy theorists run around saying Rudy Gobert was paid to do this, for the sake of LeBron James. People bringing up the fact that Draymond Green kicked LeBron and was suspended, and that probably wouldn't change the series as well. It just seems like a big old conspiracy to a lot of people. I mean, I don't. Today's NBA, man, I don't know what to say. I'm not going to sit up here and say that that's absolutely impossibly egregious. It should be. It should be. But the reality is I've seen enough this year alone to make me just question everything about the integrity of this league and how far they're willing to go to see certain things done. I've watched teams give up when they're not mathematically done. I've seen teams give us footage of their own players punching people in their organization. I've seen teams, just all kinds of stuff this year, man. All kinds of stuff. That's just, some of it looks like it's normal. Other stuff looks like it could be some conspiracies attached to it. But all of it moves the needle as it pertains to what you're seeing on that basketball floor. Coaches not in place no more because of weird scandals. Owners being ousted because of weird scandals. All in 1 year. All in 1 year. And at bottom line, it just comes down to people doing all kinds of different stuff because asset quality is valued more so than winning in this league. And that's what I've come to understand. When you got the presence of betting and then you got the presence of people understanding how the fluctuating value of picks and assets and things of that nature, you see situations like what Dallas did, where they're going to forego winning and the integrity of what it means to be true to the fans in real time for the possibility of getting certain prospects that could be valuable for them over the course of 7 and 8 years. And they expect their fans to just kind of swallow it because that player is going to be somebody they love to see for 7, 8, 9 years. This is the problem. Like, the structure of the NBA allows for cheating to not be cheating, losing to be strategy. And it's like we're supposed to accept this. And so for me, it's like, all right, I'm an open-minded individual. The game within the game within the game. Cool. But let's not call it what it is. Let's not look at it for what it is anymore. Change it to what it is that it actually is. These regular season games aren't regular season games at all. They're not. They're just different matchups that lead up to the process of teams being slotted into playoff circumstances. So stop counting the games. Stop telling us who's winning and losing. Stop counting the wins and the losses, and just schedule what it is that makes sense for the playoff tournament that you want in the end. Matchup, exhibition, matchup, exhibition, matchup, exhibition, matchup, exhibition. But once you start saying it's winning and losing, then it betrays what it is that you're actually doing, because teams have to win and lose in order to secure certain assets. So, for example, the Rockets. Today, because of the grand cap that is the environment of the NBA where people tank but don't tell anybody they tank, they justifiably fired their coach because the record was bad. But the record's bad because they decided to tank, but they didn't decide to tank because they didn't actually say they were tanking. You see what I'm saying? Now, Jason Kidd just went out and basically told everybody that he was tanking the Chicago game. And now he's getting in trouble for it because you're not supposed to be tanking. But it's understood, it's just not spoken. But see, when the lie meets the rubber in the road, it's like, why are we punishing Jason Kidd for telling the truth about something we all understand? That doesn't make any sense. And then on the other hand of it, going about it this way in that other situation, it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And it looks nefarious when it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's no different than any other type of strategy. If you tell me the rules change and I can't travel, I can't pick up the ball and walk with it, okay, then we're not picking up the ball and walking with it. If you're telling me the only way I can get the worst talent in the league is to lose 55 games, then I'm not actually losing 55 games. I'm strategizing myself for the victory from the game within the game, which is me getting that young player. So stop counting those 55 losses. Stop telling my fans that they lost those games. We didn't lose those games. We strategize so that we can have the best talent in the only way possible, which is to lose. You see what I'm saying? So why should these games have to actually be run? When you're risking these players' health, the tank games should not be exhibition games at all. They should be understood as scheduled losses and not played. But see, the NBA is way too greedy for that. They got to get the revenue for the games being played. They got to get you in the seats to watch those games, so they can't actually do that, even though it's safer for the product. It defeats the purpose. And so does everything else that they're doing for that matter, which is why this does not work. You can't both tell everybody you're tanking and then not tell everybody you're tanking and punish people for tanking and then say that it's okay to tank as long as nobody says it's okay to tank. Because you're actually firing people because of the ineptitude that isn't actually ineptitude at all. The Rockets are a very good roster. Their coach deliberately lost every game possible for their team so that they can secure the pick that they're about to get. They just fired that coach. Or rather, didn't re-up his agreement, didn't take his option. That's bullcrap. Because if you would have told him to go out there and win, and he went out there and lost 70-something games, he still loses his job. So what would have kept his job? Winning? When you deliberately did not want to? When it's certain that that's not what's best for you within the ecosystem or what it is you're trying to accomplish? So he got punished for doing what you want him to do. You see what I'm saying? And in this ecosystem, like, all of this is supposed to be yes. It's like, no, this is not yes. This is a bunch of nonsense that doesn't make any sense. What we need to do is stop, like I said, either stop counting these games as wins or losses, or forego all of the corniness that y'all are married to. This player has to be seen in that uniform 2 years from now, and they have to play against each other because they just was traded to each other. These are the things that make it easy to manipulate the game, or rather necessary to manipulate the schedules. I don't want to see that. Yes, I would love to see that, but not if it means you got to rig everything so that these two teams end up matching up in the end. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the type of stuff the NBA has been engaging in so that they can have these magic moments that you can't have unless you rig everything. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't secure the moments the NBA wants to secure without taking away the chance that otherwise leaves the game with integrity. And it's this ecosystem that's supposed to be agreed upon. So even a fan like myself says, yeah, I don't want to run into this team, so let's lose this game so we can get away from that team. But it's like, I don't want to lose no games. What about winning all the games? If I'm counting all the games and they're all supposed to be competition, then why am I foregoing 30 of them as a strategy? You see what I'm saying? And I never get a chance to be even reach for undefeated. I'm not even requesting the desire for perfection anymore because it's not necessarily healthy to do so. It's like, no, none of this works for me. No, I want perfection. I want the game a chance. I want the ball to go off the rim, and that to determine whether or not things worked out or not. You know what I mean? I don't want the referee's middleman mathematics in the way, rigging it up so that my team gets 3 times more of what it is that we're supposed to be getting. Just because we're the Lakers and other teams, well, we just don't want to see them. I want to see them. Do you know why? Because I want me to win to count. Every time I listen to these Sacramento Kings fans discredit the 2001 championship because of how a certain couple of games went in the playoffs, I realize that regardless if I agree with it or not, that conversation is in the world. That's in the world. Why is it in the world? Because somebody allowed for that to be the case. I don't want to benefit from nothing that is going to make me any less than great. I'm going to tell y'all right now, if you got to rig the game for me to get there and it's not on my merit, then I don't want it. Don't fudge my numbers. I don't want nobody. I'm not buying no numbers on YouTube, bro. If what you see is what it is, that's what it is, because that's what I garnered. I don't want to lie about that. I don't care to lie about that, because I'm actually trying to be as great as I want to be. You see what I'm saying? You lying about it doesn't make me any greater. I still look in the mirror and see the insecurity of not being as great as you all think I am. And it makes it even worse because you all believe that crap when I don't. See what I'm saying? The numbers matter as it pertains to them being authentic, but if they don't, it's just a bunch of lies. It's a bunch of people cheating. Cheating doesn't provide any results. It's no different than leaving dirt under the rug. It's still a dirty room. You just put a rug over it. So this is what I have to say about it. The Los Angeles Lakers and all teams involved, any teams, all the teams in the league, I want them to take this seriously. All of this stuff that y'all want to happen that's supposed to be coincidental, that just ultimately pops up left and right, like the best team matchups, that. You need to throw that crap away and let chance take over again. If it means we happen to have a Milwaukee Bucks Sacramento Kings championship, cool. Let it be. Let it be. You know what I'm saying? If it happens to be the Sacramento Kings and the New York Knicks, people will watch or they won't. But if you rig it for everybody to watch, you rig it so that these two teams play each other, you rig it so that every bit of what we see leading up to it makes it so that ends up being what it is we see. The crap that you do to force that into existence is going to be seen. It's not going to be as hidden as you would like it to be. It's going to show in the way you officiate the games. It's going to show in the way that the games are scheduled. It's going to show in the quote-unquote scheduled losses and the defensive schemes and all the different things that we know work in lockstep to make it so that you can control all of these things. It shows. And you can pay a million different subordinates to tell us otherwise, but it's still going to be people like me who are sitting here wanting to win. And we know that there are a lot of athletes within those lines feel the exact same way we do. So y'all gotta get in line. That's because you have nothing without us, and you ain't got nothing without the athletes. That's what it really comes down to. The fans and the athletes are what make this thing go. You can have a bunch of owners, you can have a bunch of ambition, you can have a bunch of guys that are going to rig things to high hell. But if the athletes stop playing and the people stop paying, you got nothing. And as far as I can tell, Dallas has been screwed over. Minnesota's been screwed over. That's just 2. But those are 2 fan bases that have had their money taken from them all season long with the intention of competing. And in the end, circumstances that the organization had control over kept them from being the best they could be. The best they could be, however that goes. And the environment for which that is agreed upon needs to change. The strategy from which that is understood needs to be reimagined. And look, I'm of the mindset of this. I like the system that allows bad teams to get great young prospects because it keeps things fresh in the league at all times. It really does. I think it's a system that has worked for the most part. But I do see something wrong with how we get to point B right now because of how teams are basically forcing ineptitude. It would be fine if it didn't breed such bad habits in the athletes that they use to do it, if it didn't have such harsh consequences on the athletes and the coaches that they use to do this. Like I said, if it were agreed upon and we had an understanding that this is the game within the game and everybody could use language that allowed for that to be the case, it's cool. But once you start getting into the legal ramifications of what it is they're actually doing, the health risk and all these different things, then they don't want to do it because actually it's not legal. It's just convenient. It works, but it doesn't. That's why they have to not talk. So it's like, man, no necessary evils. If it's an evil, it's not necessary. You know what I'm saying? That's what it really comes down to, because you still got to pay for it in the back end. So, yeah, man, that's my thinking in regards to this situation. I just feel like fans is getting the worst of it. The athletes are getting the worst of it, and I don't want to sit silently. And that's it. I want to see randomness, absolute and utter randomness, yo. Athletes doing their very best to beat each other and either succeeding or failing to without any middleman whatsoever, without any manipulation, without any betting, nothing. I just want the athletes to go up at it against one another to the best of their abilities and the best of their organization's abilities. When I see that being completely as bland or as spectacular as it's going to be, I'm happy. I'm happy. If the score only gives me 50-50, like it used to be in 1995 when the Knicks and the Bucks would play, that's fine. I don't care, bro. That's basketball. It might suck. It might be a defensive game. It might only be a bunch of rebounders. It might be 107 missed shots. I don't care. That's basketball. That's what makes the sport what it is. It's not always going to be spectacular. It's not always going to be something to watch when it's done with integrity. But when you do get those special moments, that's what makes them so special. In those environments, when it's not so easy to do anything, when people aren't looking to lose on purpose, that's when greatness actually shines, because it can rise to the top of all that randomness and seize a bunch of glory. Without anybody needing to rig anything, without anybody needing a special team to always talk about every single day, because that's all we know how to do, and that's what makes people talk. That's what keeps people watching. I don't care about people watching. Give me something to watch as the people, is what I'm telling you. Not some gimmick that's going to draw my attention, but something that's going to reach my soul and my passion. Competition. Wondrous, random competition is what I'm saying to you. Wondrous. Something that's going to keep me wondering, oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's amazing. That's what I want to see. Not 173 to 108. And one team got to the line 50 times, the other team got to the line 8. I don't want that. I don't want it. Even if I'm on the right side of it. Because at the end of the day, if I'm up there talking about how good my team is in the barbershop, I don't want to hear, well, we cheated for y'all. They cheated for y'all. You know, they cheated for y'all. Takes away from it. It don't give me that bragging right I deserve. Y'all got to see that angle. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching.